Hello, and welcome to the Spooky Chris podcast. My name is Chris Ringler. I am the aforementioned Spooky Chris. This is my little podcast. Hopefully you found this via my website, spookychris.com. But if not, it's cool that you found it either way. This is episode 30-something or another. And these are my short-form podcasts. I kind of just ramble about something for a few minutes so I don't get you too bored or too angry. I am an author, two-time short filmmaker, kind of event coordinator, weirdo, living in mid-Michigan. I figured this time I would talk about Rob Zombie's 3 from Hell. My wife and I finally watched it yesterday, and I had a lot of thoughts. One of the things I admired about, Rob Zombie in general, is just how much creativity he has, and how raw it is, and how much I can definitely appreciate it. I've known a lot of people that they have so much creativity that one type of art can't get it done. You can't just make songs. You can't just make movies. You can't write stuff. There's a lot to it, a lot to that passion. And I can appreciate that. I kind of feel similarly without the talent. I like telling stories, and I like finding different ways to tell stories. I mean, if you're one to tell stories, you realize that sometimes images don't work, sometimes words don't work, sometimes you need a mix, whatever. But I always admired his talent and his passion. I loved White Zombie. I sort of liked his early solo career stuff. I liked House of 1,000 Corpses, but thought it was flawed. I loved Devil's Rejects. I loved the Halloween movies. I mostly like Lords of Salem. 31 just seems like a pandering kind of movie for the fans. And that brings us to 3 from Hell, which was the unasked for continuation of the Firefly saga from Devil's Rejects and House of 1,000 Corpses. Initially, I had issues A to Z with him doing another one. Devil's Rejects ends poetically and beautifully, and fooling with that seemed like a huge mistake. It was a rare horror film that really, nailed the ending. That was a beautiful music and everything. It was just a beautifully done finale. And it was a very, very, very final finale. Assuming if you haven't seen Devil's Rejects or 3 from Hell, I would say move on, because there's probably some spoiler stuff, but it was a very final ending. So just the prospect of it alone just bothered me. It was unneeded. I'd rather, I feel bad for the guy, and I feel like 3 from Hell and 31 are products of a guy, basically what happened to Carpenter and Romero and Barker and so many of these directors, Hooper, is projects that he put his heart into and really wanted to pursue, didn't work out. And I think that kept happening to him. I think he wanted to do his hockey movie, and he wanted to do other things, and people just wouldn't commit to him. I think they loved the idea of Rob Zombie, but then be like, oh, we have a horror movie for you. And I think after a while you just stop fighting and say, okay, heck with it, I'm just going to do a horror movie. But by the point, time, he really kind of was like, okay, fine. His buzz was gone. Because there was a bunch of big, he was going to do The Blob and some of the other big projects. And, the Halloween movies, as good as they were, and I don't think they were, they weren't blockbusters per se, but they were successful enough to make a sequel. But I think it soured everybody on him, and I think you saw how angry Halloween 2 was. I think he soured on everything. So Three from Hell comes from a place where it wasn't needed, it wasn't asked for. There were fans that were like, yeah, because they like the actors. But at that point, just do another movie with the actors. But he went ahead and made the movie, and my hope had been, there'd been talk amongst the fans, like, oh, well, maybe they're literally dead, they are dead, and they're going to come back from hell. Something to do with Dr. Satan or something. And it's far-fetched, but it's interesting, because the second one had been grounded in 70s reality and grunge and grime. The first one had been kind of weird and kind of trippy, almost surreal. So it'd be a fun kind of see what he did, just each one different, kind of different takes on different subgenres almost. That's not the way he decided to take it. He took it back to the 70s again. That is the well he keeps going to, and that well is dry. I am a fan of the 70s horror films. I'm a fan of the 80s. I'm a fan of all the genres, the years, the decades. I love horror. But he's gone to that well too many times, and it is old hat. And it's not even that he goes to, when he goes to the 70s, is he goes to Last House on the Left and the early Wes Craven, so Hells Have Eyes. He goes to Tobe Hooper and Texas Chainsaw Massacre. He goes to all of those sleazy, nasty, grimy movies, and that's his shtick, and that is his thing, and that's his wheelhouse. 31 is a very interesting film, ruined by a horrible ending. Even some unforgivable, it's funny for a guy that overwrites his movies. He overwrites dialogue and character and underwrites the plot, which is just weird. It's a drag, because Three from Hell has interesting ideas. There's the idea of them as a cult, creating a cult, kind of like a cult fandom, like the Devil's Rejects themselves. There's all these kind of strings that are picked at but never picked up, so that we get a retread essentially of Devil's Rejects without the interest. It doesn't feel dangerous. It doesn't feel scary. It doesn't feel anything but like a retread. It feels like somebody mimicking themselves. The music isn't there. It's mostly handheld. So the filmmaking aspect isn't there. It's not as well designed. Set designs aren't there. It's crazy that in my mind now, I thought so little of Three from Hell. I literally just don't like it. There's no reason for it. There's no need for it. The good faith it created in Devil's Rejects is kind of squandered. So I kind of feel like House of a Thousand Corpses is the best of those three, because you don't know what to expect. You don't know what you're going to get in for. You don't know what you're going to see. It's an unknown commodity. And now you've seen this. You've seen this gag. The characters don't have an arc. They don't change. Otis just spews silly lines that a 15-year-old would write, thinking oh, this is gonna be great for a quote. It's like t-shirt quotes, and it's corny. A lot of it is corny. There's no, there's no arc. There's no growth. There's nothing. There's no reason for any of this. There's no danger to it. It's sleazy for the fact of being sleazy, because 70s movies were sleazy. Baby, they do some things and then they let it go. It's weird. It's a weird movie. It fails on almost every aspect. Even the finale, the credits kind of finale is bad. But it was funny, because the Halloween movies are so polished, and people hate them. They're so polished though, and he made them his, and they're interesting, and there's interesting characters and good writing. And it's weird, because those to me are his best movies. And it's a bummer, because he's got so much talent, and he has so much skill, and with music and filmmaking, it seems like he is either bored or mailing it in. I don't know. Maybe he feels too stressed. It reminds me kind of Argento, because Argento has hit a wall where he just isn't saying anything anymore. For a guy that's that talented. And it's sad. It's sad because, again, Rob Zombie has a ton of talent. A ton. And he's a very good filmmaker. And there's interesting things in there's interesting ideas in Three from Hell, but like there's no logic. Gosh, there's like a documentary someone's making, and there's cursing in it, and I'm like, okay, then it has to be a documentary for the movies, which they didn't really make a lot of those back then. So what was or even in the 80s? I guess it gets into the 80s, but even still, they didn't put swear words like that on TV. So who was it for? There really wasn't much cable back then. So I don't know. It's stuff like that where it's like, what are you thinking? And I just feel like he's a dude that's surrounded by people that are just like, yes, you're great, you're brilliant. And it stinks because shucks. You can look back at 31, he promised his funders, he fundraised, did like a fundraising thing online. And he promised the funders, hey, I'm going to release an unrated cut as soon as it's done. He never has. And that's kind of his shtick, is he does that. And it's a bummer. I don't know if he's been pulled in too many directions or what, but Three from Hell is such a huge letdown. And everybody kind of said that, but I'm like, I like movies people don't like. I might like this. Friends of mine hated 31, and I'm like, I kind of mostly liked it. But after seeing it a second time, it's a mess. And Three from Hell, like I can't recommend it to anybody because it's the characters what you liked about the characters in the last one. It's almost a mimic of that. It's like someone else made a movie with these characters, like relying on how cool they thought they were, and relying on that coolness, and it's just a bummer. It's a huge bummer. And Rob Zombie, I'd love to see him challenge himself and do something different and do something outside of his comfort level. Do a ghost movie, do a haunted house movie, do something, do a dark comedy. Like, that'd be interesting. But for now, man, he's got to get right with God. I did see Birds of Prey over the weekend. It's decent. It's not great. It's not bad. It's fun. I just felt like that with Birds of Prey, they just didn't flesh out some of the sub-characters really at all. They kind of just wrote action stuff. And I guess that's fun, but it's just, I don't know. It's decent. But, Three Pounds a bummer, though, and that stinks. But I am Spooky Chris, and this has been my little creepy podcast. If you want more of my weirdness, SpookyChris.com for all my blogs and everything else. I will talk to you soon.